I discovered the genius of Socrates Finley on a Tuesday morning, when my Aunt Magda mailed me a glass bowl packed in styrofoam peanuts and post-it notes, quoting Walt Whitman. Aunt Magda teaches comparative ontology at a liberal arts college in Vermont, so I assumed the package contained either artisanal maple syrup or an out-of-print German monograph. Instead, inside was a goldfish, orange as a traffic cone, drifting around with an expression that somehow looked contemplative. Aunt Magda's note said, "Dear Theo, this is Socrates Finley, the world's only philosopher goldfish. Every 30 seconds he forgets everything, including the advice he just gave. Do not let this discourage you. His counsel is excellent while it lasts. Feed twice daily. Do not enroll him in graduate school. The stipend won't cover fish food. Love, A.M." I stared at the bowl. The fish stared back, then circled once, apparently in profound reflection, or possibly just seeking a non-existent corner. My roommate Clara walked in, saw me holding a goldfish, and said, "We agreed. No more pets that can't survive the Wi-Fi outage." "This is different," I told her. "He's a philosopher. Is he house-trained?" "He's aquatic. The bowl trains the house." Clara shrugged and went to make coffee. I put the bowl on the kitchen table, set my phone's stopwatch, and cleared my throat. "Good morning," I said. "I hear you offer advice." Socrates Finley bulged his eyes. The stopwatch hit 0. He opened his mouth. "Consider," he said, "that a bubble, though fragile, reflects the entire room. From this, learn humility in completeness." Sounded impressive, though I had no idea what it meant. 10 seconds clicked by. He continued, "Attachment generates turbulence. Let desire settle like gravel at the tank bottom, and the water will clear." At second 29, he added, "Also, beware overfeeding. Fullness of belly is emptiness of purpose." The stopwatch beeped. His pupils dilated as if the universe rebooted. He spun, noticed the miniature castle, and looked delighted, as if seeing it for the first time. Because of course he was. "Who are you?" he asked the plastic diver. The divine transmission had ended, leaving me with bubble metaphors and a note about fish obesity. Clara returned with 2 mugs and caught me furiously writing on a napkin. "Word for word quotes," she asked. "He only remembers for 30 seconds, I explained. "I'm archiving the wisdom." Clara sipped. "How long until he's earned tenure?" That afternoon, I had a staff meeting on Zoom. Our department grappled with a product launch delayed by supply chain chaos, and tempers flared like a deep fryer. Remembering the bubble lecture, I piped up, "Maybe we should reflect the entire room in our fragility." Silence. My manager, a man who wore motivational wristbands, paused the call and said, "Theo, are you okay?" I realized corporate settings struggle with ichthyonic parables. Still, mentioning turbulence and gravel soothed me, and I didn't volunteer for extra slides. When the meeting ended, Socrates Finley was hovering near the glass, staring with the intensity of a professor waiting for someone to defend a thesis. "Stopwatch ready," I listened. "Truth," he began, "is a ripple. Clear at origin, distorted at margin. Speak near the source." He pivoted to the little castle. "And never trust a door that goes nowhere." He seemed about to elaborate, but at second 30 he blanked, discovered the plastic plant, and started nibbling it, as if auditioning for Shark Week. That evening, Clara invited her new boyfriend Eric, an amateur magician who once sawed a baguette in half at a dinner party. Eric peered at the bowl. "Goldfish have 3-second memories," he said. "That one looks smug." 30 seconds, I corrected. Eric winked. "Then I've got a captive audience for card tricks." He produced a deck, shuffled with flair, and showed the fish the Queen of Hearts. Socrates seemed unimpressed. My stopwatch zeroed. "Conjurer." The fish intoned. Remember that deception is the homage entertainment pays to curiosity. Use it wisely or forever chase applause like a cat after its tail. Eric blinked. Did your fish just talk? Philosophize. Clara clarified. Same difference, Eric muttered, visibly rattled. When the 30 seconds lapsed, Socrates forgot the entire exchange and started practicing vortex swimming. Eric packed his cards. I have to feed my ferret, he said, fleeing. Clara laughed so hard she hiccuped for 10 minutes. Word of the oracular goldfish spread. First came my neighbor, Mrs. Dunworthy, who claimed her begonias were possessed. She parked herself at the table with a notepad shaped like a watering can. At 0 seconds, the fish declared, "Plants require not exorcism, but empathy. Water at dawn, prune resentment at dusk." Mrs. Dunworthy gasped, scribbled, and left to implement dawn empathy in her garden. Next arrived Trevor from 3 floors up, heartbroken after his girlfriend joined a cult that worshipped fermented kombucha. Socrates advised, "Love fermented becomes vinegar. Do not sip from yesterday's bottle." Trevor wept, thanked the fish, and downloaded a dating app featuring kombucha-free partners. I started charging admission. $1 or a snack item for Clara's bottomless pantry. My phone recorded each session, and I compiled the Finley Papers, organizing quotes by theme, love, career, existential dread, aquarium maintenance. The paradox fascinated me. A creature who dispensed profundity, yet dwelt in perpetual amnesia. He resembled a USB drive that deleted itself every half minute, but still managed fleetingly to save other people's files. One morning, I found guidance for myself. I'd been languishing at my job, designing infographics no one read. The fish announced, labor divorced from meaning is like swimming in dyed water, colorful yet toxic. Seek a current that carries you somewhere. When he reset, I stared at my cereal until it went soggy. That afternoon, I asked my manager for a role transfer, shocking us both. Yet enlightenment had side effects. A line formed outside the apartment door, snaking past recycling bins, stressed students, uncertain retirees, a barista holding a cappuccino for the fish, extra foam, no sugar. The hallway smelled of impatience and lavender spray. Socrates Finley, oblivious, swam loops. I worried constant prophecy might fatigue him. Also, we ran out of napkins. Clara suggested a ticketing system. It's like universal basic wisdom, she said, but with fins. I added a disclaimer. Advice may expire after 30 seconds. Results may vary. Fish not liable for existential crises. Then came Professor Lombardi from the philosophy department. He carried a leather briefcase and centuries of skepticism. I hear your piscine friend channels metaphysics, he said. Mind if I test him? The professor cleared his throat. Stopwatch synced. What is the nature of time? He asked. Socrates drifted upward. Time, he said, is the water you do not see until you leave the bowl. Memory is the wetness upon departure. He paused exactly long enough for Lombardi's eyebrows to ascend. Thus, I am immortal in ignorance. At second 30, the fish pivoted and examined a pebble. Enthralled, Lombardi snapped his briefcase shut. Remarkable, he muttered. If only my grad students displayed such clarity before forgetting the syllabus. He put $20 in the tip jar. The more Socrates spoke, the more I wondered what happened inside those 30 seconds. Did he possess a continuous consciousness that refreshed like a web page? Or did he exist only as flashes of sagacity? I tried asking, "What's it like to forget?" I said. 0. Imagine living in pure present, he answered. No past, no future, only tide between blinks. Memory is useful, but so is buoyancy. He eyed the surface. Your tragedy is drowning in recollection. He reset, spotted Clara's sticker on the bowl. Swim deeply, my dude. and flicked his tail as if to say, "Nice decor." I spent nights transcribing videos. The Finley papers grew to 90 single-spaced pages. Some statements contradicted others. On Monday he said desire was gravel. By Wednesday it was a kite. Yet each utterance felt true in its moment. Perhaps truth, like water, changes shape according to container. I pitched a book to a literary agent, who replied, "Talking animal memoirs peaked with the mindful goat fad." So, I created an anonymous Twitter account, Pissing Socrates, posting a quote every hour. Followers ballooned. A corporate guru plagiarized the line about dyed water. His TEDx talk went viral. I didn't mind. Socrates would have forgotten authorship anyway. Meanwhile, practical concerns surfaced. The bowl got cloudy from endless gazes and moral algae. I bought a bigger tank with LED lights and a fake Roman Colosseum. Moving day. Clara held the fish in a measuring cup while I siphoned water. Socrates looked exhilarated, or was that terror? Hard to tell in fish. When I lowered him into the new habitat, he delivered advice without prompting. Sometimes the world enlarges, and your thoughts must grow gills. Then he forgot and started exploring the Colosseum, delighted by every arch. My friend Jonah, a disillusioned software engineer, visited next. He asked whether quitting to become a baker was sane. Socrates answered, "A recipe followed exactly yields predictability. Improvisation yields identity. Sprinkle risk like cinnamon." Jonah quit the next day, joined a culinary incubator, and Instagram messaged me loaves shaped like spirals. The fish's impact was undeniable. Yet a nagging question haunted me. Was it ethical to exploit a being who couldn't recall consent? I held a meeting with Claren the fish, though his attendance was epistemologically complicated. "We're basically running a wisdom carnival," I admitted. Clara chewed a pretzel stick. "The people love it. Finley doesn't seem stressed. But what if he would object if he remembered?" She pointed to the tank. Socrates was busy pushing gravel aside to create a tiny Zen garden. He's living his best 8-second span. 30, whatever. Let the fish decide. So I asked him. "Stopwatch ready," I said. "Do you mind visitors seeking counsel?" He pondered. "Gatherings of minds are currents. If I float in them, I am content. But heed. A crowd may stir sediment, clouding clarity. Moderation. Landwalker." Clara grinned. "That's practically an RSVP, yes. We instituted office hours. Tuesday and Thursday evenings. Demand surged anyway, so we live-streamed sessions. Comments scrolled. And fish Freud. Donations covered fish flakes and rent increases. One Thursday, a teenage girl named Maya called during the stream. She was in tears because her parents wanted her to study accounting while she yearned to be a puppeteer. "What should I do?" she asked. "The fish. Choose the theater where your soul applauds loudest. Numbers can puppet you, or you can puppet them." The chat erupted in heart emojis. Maya smiled through tears. I muted the stream to compose myself. I realized Socrates was doing more good in 30 seconds than I accomplished in 30 years of well-intentioned stumbling. Of course, not everyone appreciated piscine profundity. A skeptic blogger wrote, "Goldfish spouts random nonsense. Millennials call it wisdom." He compiled contradictions. On day 12, Finley praised minimalism. On day 19, he declared, "Accumulate beauty like pebbles for future mosaics." The blogger concluded we suffered confirmation bias. I invited him to test the fish live. He arrived with a lab coat and a clipboard. "Explain suffering," he challenged. 0. Suffering is a hook. Painful, yes, but it pulls you to air where you may glimpse stars. Afterward, you may choose new waters. At second 30, the fish chased a bubble. The skeptic stared, lower lip quivering. "My wife left last month," he said quietly. Clara handed him a tissue. When he published the article, its headline read, "Goldfish makes me cry. I don't know why." He conceded some statements were surprisingly resonant and recommended yoga. Fearful of overexposure, I proposed a hiatus. Clara objected. Can enlightenment take vacations? But the fish's color had faded, perhaps from the LED. I dimmed the light and reduced show times. One windy night, the power failed. The apartment glowed only with candles, without filter noise. The room felt solemn. I sat by the tank. Stopwatch useless in darkness. I whispered, "Hey, philosopher, any guidance for blackouts?" He swished near. In the flicker, his scales looked bronze. Darkness is simply light resting. Rest with it. Then silence, because we both did. The next morning the power returned, and online requests flooded in. But I had woken with a wild idea. What if I tried to extend his memory? Perhaps environment affected cognition. Aunt Magda once mentioned experiments with enriched habitats. I bought floating mazes, mirrors, and a tiny soccer ball. The goal was mental stimulation. Though admittedly I'd never trained a fish to remember object permanence. During setup, Socrates watched, intrigued. First trial, I placed a red bead near the castle. I'd move it after each reset, seeing if he searched for it. Results were inconclusive. He usually forgot the bead, but one time, at second 27, he said, "The red dot was elsewhere. Impermanence traffics in surprise." That felt like partial recall. Or maybe he was humoring me. More promising was the mirror. When he saw his reflection, he said, "Two fish, both alike in dignity," and nudged the glass as if greeting an old friend from the previous half-minute. Day after day, the lines between forgetting and remembering blurred. Was 30 seconds becoming 35? 40? Or was that my wishful timing? One evening, Clara waved a note. "Got promotion, thanks to fish confidence boost." She hugged me. "You realize he's changed our trajectories?" I did. My role transfer turned into a creative lead position. Jonah texted photos of a small bakery opening. Maya performed at a puppetry festival. Like ripples, Socrates' fleeting words propagated durable effects. I stood by the tank. Phone stopwatch ready. "Anything for me tonight?" 0. He was quiet at first. Then, when a map grows outdated, draw new coastlines. Journey. Don't drift. The 30 seconds ended. He glanced around, startled by the tank's size, but settled. I emailed my resignation that night and enrolled in a master's program in community counseling, determined to help people full-time instead of part-time with a bowl intermediary. Enrollment meant moving to another city. The lease forbade pets except low-maintenance aquatic life, which seemed perfect until I read the fine print. Tank max, 2 gallons. Socrates' palace was 5 gallons. Downsizing felt cruel. Clara offered adoption. She'd miss him, but her schedule allowed office hours. We held a farewell session, live-streamed to thousands. Comments overflowed with crying emoji and fish gifs in togas. I approached the bowl with bittersweet excitement. "Final counsel for your chronic listener?" I asked. 0. He floated gently. "Depart, knowing the current that carried you here continues beyond sight. Do not fear forgetting. Memory is water. You can drink later as stories. Go and pour." At second 30, his gaze reset. He fluttered at the glass, fascinated by my face, as if meeting me anew. I swallowed the lump in my throat. On moving day, Clara sent me off with a jar of gravel from the tank for philosophical emergencies. The apartment felt emptier than I expected. My first night in grad school housing, I placed the gravel on the windowsill. Under city neon, it gleamed like tiny suns. Weeks passed. Counseling courses consumed me, but I tuned into Clara's live streams. The fish seemed healthy, though his pronouncements sometimes referenced me. The traveler with gravel in pocket remembers oceans. Viewers speculated about hidden meaning. I knew the reference and felt oddly seen, or at least half remembered, by someone who forgot me every 30 seconds. Then came the call. Clara, voice trembling, said Socrates Finley was listless, floating near the surface. The vet suggested old age or water chemistry. Goldfish can live decades, but ours carried the weight of humanity's questions. Perhaps that ages a soul quickly. I caught the late bus back. The apartment was quiet, except for the filter's hum. Clara stood by the tank, eyes red. The fish lay sideways, gills fluttering. I knelt, stopwatch in hand, though I doubted he could speak. 0. One eye brightened. With effort, he uprighted. Barely audible, he said, "Even a short story hopes for a good ending. Thank you for reading." He exhaled a string of bubbles that rose and popped. 30 seconds rolled, and he did not reset. He simply rested, still shimmering, then stilled entirely. We buried him in a planter on the balcony, using the gravel as headstone mosaic. Clara recited a line he'd once given about endings. When the narrative swims away, write the next chapter with wet ink. I poured fishbowl water on the soil, returning him to earth through a liquid veil. The Finley papers became an archive of a voice no longer replenished. I compiled them into a book anyway. Proceeds to aquatic habitat charities. Reviewers called it Zen, aphorisms with scales. Aunt Magda wrote the foreword, praising her late pupil. Socrates Finley reminded us that wisdom need not endure to transform. In counseling sessions, I sometimes quote an anonymous philosopher. Attachment generates turbulence. Let desire settle like gravel. Patients nod, unaware the line came from a goldfish, 3 forgetful heartbeats away from oblivion. It still works. I keep a single orange pebble in my pocket. When I fiddle with it before class, I feel a nudge toward the present moment, a buoyancy that says, live now, forget later. Sometimes, when a client hesitates, I imagine a little voice rising for 30 seconds. Truth is a ripple, it says. I speak it aloud, giving the ancient fish new lungs. On quiet nights, I remember his last words, "Thank you for reading," and realize stories read us as much as we read them. We take them in, let them circulate, and after a while they dissolve, leaving only a clarity we can't quite trace, but recognize whenever the water settles. Some people ask whether I miss him. The honest answer is that I do, but only in lucid flashes. Most days life occupies me. The counseling office echoes with human stories, and the goldfish becomes a pleasant blur, like a dream from childhood. Then 30 seconds pass, or 30 hours, and suddenly I recall an orange philosopher offering guidance quick as a heartbeat. The memory is fresh, shimmering, and for that brief span I listen, laugh, and take notes on whatever he just might have said.